If you got big dreams and bad jeans, you are in the right place. Check out Barbell Apparel's Black Friday sale going on now. All pants, joggers, and jeans. Now we're jumping right into the Rogue Invitational 2025. We are going to speed run the events, and then we're going to give our commentary, criticisms, our coulda, woulda, shouldas. The big news here today is Mitch Hooper. He's jumping back into the big shows. It looks like his break from Strongman, if there ever was a break, is over. And Mitch went through some stuff, as we are all aware. So the big question here is he back in fighting form? Is the Moose back?
And he's in a much better mental state. What does that translate to? Confidence in his ability to win.
We're starting out this show with the axle deadlift. If you're going to do an elevated deadlift, 18 inches is about the limit, and it better be an axle, so you can't just rip it above the knee like a hand thigh lift, like when Alexei Novikov did that, a ridiculous, almost 1,200 pound pull. If you've never done one of these, you gotta have strength in the right areas, because at that position, for a lot of people, it's dead weight. So we see Patty Haynes at 900 pounds, and that takes bottom pack here. That's where we're at. I remember the early days of the Arnold and the days of Marius and Zydrunas. Guys would miss the bendy-ass Hummer tire deadlift with like 775. So we are in a new era. It's continuing to climb. You got a four-way tie with Stoltman, Thomas Evans, Bryce Johnson, and Reno Nell at 950. At World's Strongest Man, they had an 18-inch deadlift, and Reno Nell did 490 kilos to Trey Mitchell's 500. Now here you can't wear a suit, shouldn't matter. That's like wearing knee wraps on a quarter squat. And the axle looks like it has no give whatsoever, and subtle bits of bend can make a huge difference with a lift like this, but that costs Reno more than 100 pounds here. And he's proven to be the PR nightmare for World's Strongest Man. It's kind of hard for that organization to keep that title when the last guy to win is being told to sit out Shaw's Strongest Man on Earth, because it's not the right move. Now, the most surprising things here, Lucas Hatton coming a pubic hair away from locking out at 1025, just losing his balance. That looked like a good lift all day. And Trey Mitchell, who hit that 500 kilos at World's Strongest Man, settling for a 975. I don't think anybody's surprised at Mitch Hooper's 1050. He has training vids going back a while, showing some monumental lifts in this setup. And then Austin Andrade at 1025. He's gone over 1,000 multiple times from the floor, I believe. And then Thor comes in, kind of lackadaisical, fails to pull 1,100, and then takes off. It's probably like, this was a bad idea. Shouldn't have drank those 5 bottles of vodka last night. Now, these wheels were specifically fashioned from the actual Sigmarsson wheels that John Paul Sigmarsson pulled that iconic deadlift in. It was a much higher height, but that's where he belted out. There's no reason to be alive if you can't do the deadlift. So this should have been a special lift using those wheels. That's his fellow countryman. Not to shame you, buddy, but somewhere Sven Karlsson is shaking his head and saying no Viking power. All right, so coming in with the Viking press, they call it 360 some odd pounds in hand, 166 kilos. It absolutely is freaking not, but that's okay. It's still heavy. Absolute rep fest here. Patty Haynes with 6. Reno Nell's monkey arms aren't doing him any justice, 8 reps. And then the reps just got crazy. Lucas Hatton, Bryce Johnson at 16, Trey Mitchell at 22, probably the strongest upper body walking around in Strongman today. And then Mitch Hooper coming in and doing just what he needs to do. And this is a good event for him because he's athletic, he can jump, he gets a lot of leg drive. Austin Andrade probably presses 100 pounds more in any given style than Reno Nell, but only got 11 here. Haven't been around those guys, him and Nick Ardione at Heavy Metal. They're power monsters, and it's paid dividends, but that's a completely different threshold. When the reps are this high, you have to get into the weeds and get that metabolic fatigue. It's uncomfortable, it's different. The guys that love to train that are the most well-rounded, they're going to be the ones to take it. Bro, Hannah is looking juicy. You want to talk about some transformations. Now, for the record, I love Strongman being a freak show. That applies for the men and the women. That's great. You got a Sam Bellevue or Melissa Peacock to appeal to the normies. Guys, this is a lesson we already learned 20 years ago. If the guys are Shrek, these are the Princess Fionas. Like, what the fuck do you expect? Now, they started giving these medleys funny names. I don't know why everything in the world has to be a medley. This is 6 seconds of yoke walk followed by 2 minutes of power stairs. I'm going to call this the power stairs. It made absolutely no difference how fast these guys were off the line. And as critical as I am of medleys, I approve of this. This is a threshold that these guys don't often see. As a middleweight who at the amateur level always had to do goddamn death medleys where you're doing a bag carry to a tire flip to run around a barrel and stand on your head and then do a sled drag until you fucking puke. The big guys, even at the World's Strongest Man, medleys top out at a minute. You don't get to see them get into the weeds like this very often. Now, I don't know if Rogue is trying to kill these guys by having them do CrossFit-y stuff. We should remember that there was a rash of deaths through the 90s and 2000s from strongmen who let's just say weren't in the best cardiovascular shape for a multitude of reasons. So I do get a little nervous when I see guys that are this big get their heart rate up around 200 beats per minute. But the threshold, I mean, this is like a few minutes of just partial deadlift strength endurance. It wasn't even fun to watch from a competitive standpoint. It's the feeling I get when I'm watching a documentary about some impoverished tribe on the other end of the world. It's like, that sucks. Glad I'm not them. I'm going to grab a bucket of chicken, pop a beer, and lay down on the couch. I mean, look at this. We're 2 minutes in. Look at Tom Stoltman's face. Now, if I had to guess, I don't like to speculate on drug use very often, but when you see this threshold, when you see a strongman event with a 2.5 minute threshold, everybody's taking the trenbolone down. That's just what they're doing. Because when you're this big, you got that much flesh around your neck, and you got tren lungs going on, and you're 2 minutes in to blowing your wad on a power stairs, it feels like you're drowning. It feels like you just sprinted a mile, and now you have to breathe through a coffee straw. That shit's like emphysema in a bottle. So I think that's going to go a long ways to explaining like why the deadlift numbers might have been lackadaisical. Thomas Evans, bro, just get me the hell out of here. Now off the bat, Hooper's quick off the line. I mean, this reminds me of like a chicken that's at the front of the line to jump into the meat grinder at the processing plant. Hooper starts off strong, but he gasses out quick, can't quite make the last couple of steps, and he ends up getting passed up by a couple of guys at the end. I think this was just bad strategy. Hooper's always great at these types of events. If instead of trying to beat the clock, if he just paced himself, he would have finished this thing, probably earned himself a couple of extra points. But imagine getting to the point where your hamstrings can't extend on a deadlift and you've got 45 seconds to go. Now, the most surprising thing about this is Trey Mitchell. I would have expected him to be one of the guys like grabbing somebody on the side, like, give me a fucking oxygen mask. But he finished it and he's standing up talking normally, hand on his hips. He does this. This is like a power move with Andrade. It's like you won the event, but then you're going to be like, oh, you're tired, bro? Good luck with that. I'm going to go help them reset for the next group. Now, given the variability in strongman, how you taper, how you peak for a particular event makes a massive difference given how different the thresholds can be. So no doubt he prioritized the endurance, and it showed in the rep events. It's going to show in later events, but I'm sure the drug protocol played a big role here, as evident by the big drop on the deadlift and the exceptional performance on these other events. That's, of course, just speculation. I have no fucking idea what any individual person does or doesn't do here. You don't need genetic modification or a time machine to go back and swap out your parents in order to get jacked. You just need a proven training template and the means to personalize it to you. Base Strength AI adjusts volume and intensity, minute to minute, day to day, block to block, according to your tolerances to keep you in the pocket. There is no anxiously waiting for a return text from your coach in the middle of a bad workout. Everything is automated specifically to you. It could not be easier. This is not generative AI. These are my programs in your back pocket, personalized to you at 1/10 of the cost of an online coach. So put your gains on autopilot this year. Go to BaseStrength.com. Then we're going into the overhead medley. Once again, I don't know why everything has to be a medley. You have a heavy kettlebell. For those of you that haven't pressed heavy kettlebell, it does suck. The center of mass is behind you, so you have to kind of push in front, and it puts kind of a weird torque on your shoulder joint. Not a fan. 250 circus dumbbell, which for this field, not really anything special. But then you go into the meat and potatoes, which is an axle, a fixed axle, just like the Apollon's wheels at the Arnold Classic. You get a few guys get in trouble with the kettlebell, a few guys get in trouble with the dumbbell. Tom Stoltman ends up saving it, coming out getting a rep. Tom Stoltman with kind of a really milquetoast overhead performance here, given that that's one of his bread and butter events. Andrade had a rough performance here. He's good with a dumbbell, and that 250 gave him more problems than it should have. Thomas Evans and Lucas Hatton. I expected Lucas Hatton to kill this because he's probably one of the top 3 overhead pressers right now. I'd say Trey Mitchell is the statically strongest. I'd say Lucas Hatton is pretty statically strong, but he's actually adept at Olympic lifting, as is evident by the big jerk. He did, 600 pounds behind the neck in training, and he's much more efficient than Hooper's jerk. And I'd say Hooper's somewhere in the middle. He's probably statically the weakest, but he's so athletic, so well-rounded, and so efficient in all of his movements that he hangs. I put him like kind of in between them. Now, how they rank against each other, it just has to do with whatever the event is that day. So Hatton sets the bar here. He knocks out reps. He probably didn't expect the other guys were going to come in and put on this freak show. Now, Trey Mitchell's in his own world. Notice he's not looking at anything other than that goddamn bar and trying to figure out how to get those reps done with as fast as possible. Mitch Hooper, he keeps looking over. Now, people are going to call that strategy, and it is strategy. He's good enough where he can do two things at once. Even for the best guys, I'd say for amateurs, for most people, this is a terrible approach. But even for the best guys, I don't like it. Having competed as long as I have, I actually don't think you have as much control over the outcome by trying to do that strategizing on the fly as many people think. I think Brian Shaw became really guilty of this in his career. He was such a cerebral strongman. He wasn't. He was just picky and he obsessed over small things. That's my general 2 cents, but like, what am I going to do? Tell the best in the world to like do something different? Like, even if for no other reason than superstition, it's like, whatever you're doing, bro, keep doing it. But I got to say, this side-by-side does remind me of the swimmers meme, where champions focus on their own path. But that only makes sense if Trey wins. Then we have yet again another erroneous medley with a weird name. Would they call this the power push pile driver? I don't even know. It's an arm over arm. It was get this annoying obstacle out of the way and then do like the hardest thing we can think of for like the next minute. Now the longer guys do better here because they get more work done for each pull. But you can train the hell out of this because little points of efficiency make a big difference. If you get really good at shoving yourself down in a leg press position, if you're even flexible enough to do that, which half these guys not so sure, if you can get way forward past your toes, grab, and then leg press through, making sure to use your arms on the last bit to get that full bit of extension, like a clean pull. Like once you've gotten the momentum, then you extend and use your arms. And if you're quick and coordinated at eating up the rope, you can become much more efficient than if you just went out and did it cold. So Hatton's one of the best examples of this. His leverages aren't helping him. He's a stumpier guy, but he's got just a shit ton of hip and leg power. He should be yanking this thing. You see him trying to get down and get upright into a stronger mechanical advantage, but he can't get as deep as he needs to because he's a bigger guy. And his hands are probably a bit shorter than some of the taller guys. This is really unfortunate because he took last year. This is the one that cost him. Then you go to the big head-to-head here between Hooper and Mitchell, United States versus Canada. Notice what they're doing. The position, it's a lot like hitching a deadlift. Instead of just pulling back, they're keeping the rope low and they're shoving their shoulders down to the ground first and then pushing, trying to keep it as much like a leg press as possible. Look at Trey pulling up high. He's not putting his shoulders down to the pad, so he's not as efficient. He's using all hips and back. He's a strong effing dude, so he still gets away with it. But Mitch was just much more efficient here, pull for pull, and that's where the difference came from. Arm over arm has never been that interesting to watch, but this is another one where I enjoy it because it is a suck fest. It was just like the power medley at the Shaw Classic where nobody finished. It just destroyed everybody. I am enjoying this era where not only is everything heavier, but every athlete now has to hit the gas where they didn't before because events never used to go a minute and a half, let alone 2.5 minutes. So going into the last event, it's close here. Hooper's only 1.5 points ahead of Trey Mitchell. For Thomas Evans and Stoltman, they would literally have to win the event and Hooper would have to take last place. They have this like load the stone into the cannon thing, which is like, okay, that's kind of cool, I guess. But they dropped the ball here, no pun intended, because the stones, they went up to 400 pounds and you can't use any tacky, just a tacky towel, which makes it an entirely different ball game. But that wasn't nearly heavy enough to get separation. So this looked like every World's Strongest Man Stone final you've ever seen, with literally everybody getting 20 some seconds, with the exception of 2 people. Tackless stone loading is a unique skill. It's not just getting it off the ground, which is hard, but being able to squeeze it hard enough to extend, it is incredibly difficult. Like, I can't put in words how much tacky helps these guys. The stones either should have started heavier or there should have been 2 more. Whereas the entire theme of the show was having really clear, obvious separation by having longer timelines, heavier weights, or the reps just getting crazy high. All of a sudden, we have this short stone sprint, which is not in the spirit of anything that's gone on in this contest whatsoever. The fact that Lucas Hatton won, he's good, he's athletic, this was right in his wheelhouse, but any normal, especially heavier stone event, you're not going to see this outcome. The fact that you do everything you just did with this massive separation for these grueling events, look at this, everybody's within 4 seconds of each other. That's absurd. This was a throwaway event. I would rather they have brought back the wrist roller event. So we have the final scores. Hooper finishes 6.5 points ahead of Trey Mitchell. Mitchell is 7 points ahead of Tom Stoltman. So the takeaways, I think Stoltman's days in the sun are limited. He's probably going to hang around a few more years and be like a gatekeeper type. I don't see him winning a big show again. He needs to be able to match the pulling capacity of the top guys, and if he hasn't done it by now, he's not going to. Trey Mitchell is probably the statically strongest strongman walking around right now. His mix of deadlift ability, his inhuman pressing power. Guys, let me put it in perspective. Trey Mitchell is objectively stronger than Zydrunas Savickas was. One of his biggest achievements at his peak was the world record he set at the Apollon's Wheels at the Arnold in 2007. 2 minutes, 366, fixed axle, clean and press. He did 8. I was there. I watched it. It was electric. Trey Mitchell was 30 seconds in, did 2 heavy dumbbell presses, and then busted out 4 reps with a heavier axle in a shorter period of time. He beat Zydrunas' world record split at that event. In addition, his deadlift is substantially higher than Z's ever was. Now, as it stands right now, Mitch is still the guy. His deadlift look just nasty right now. He's well-rounded in the overhead press, and he is hard to beat in just about every single other event. So Trey Mitchell not only has to be substantially stronger to make up for it, but he can't make any mistakes in the future, and he's got a couple weaknesses to shore up. I'm hoping this turns into a rivalry because Trey is just so close to being the guy, and in the next couple years, I could see Hatton being right up there with him. And it looks like Hooper's back. He was in fighting shape. His deadlift was good. His conditioning was good. His worst placing was 5th. He won the deadlift, and then he took 2nd and everything else. He Hoopered it. Now, I got to give special attention to Hatton because he is a mix of athletic and strong and is even overcoming subpar leverages in a lot of these events. Wait a few years, I think Hatton's going to be the guy. And then you have Rain O'Neill, who took 2nd to last, and I'm sure he's a fantastic athlete. I hate raining on the guy's parade, but he's just proving what a lot of people thought of as obvious. He's a very talented athlete, very strong at a few things, and in the right series of events, he can hang with or even beat some of the best in the world. But the state of strongman as it is right now, and it's not going backwards, you have to be one of the strongest sons of bitches around. So we'll see what he does, because I got to believe that when you win World's Strongest Man, you're like, holy shit, I made it. And then you start getting into these fields and getting your ass kicked. You're like, oh, World's Strongest Man isn't the pinnacle of the sport. It's probably disheartening. So either he's going to get in gamer mode and do the things he needs to fill up his frame and realize his potential, or he's going to be like, I did a lot here. I think I could save myself a decade of blasting gear, tendon ruptures, taking some years off my life. And he would be very justified in doing that. I'm not dogging him at all as an athlete. It's the organization of World's Strongest Man I have a bone to pick with. But dinky 3-second splits on the stone final aside, I think this was a good event, and I think it's an exciting time to be a strongman fan. I absolutely love what Rogue has done with the sport so far. It's a fantastic production. They've made everything heavier. They've given out prize money. They've made it watchable. They live stream it. They put it up for free. It's all good. So I will forever bitch about every strongman contest I ever see, because that's part of the fun of being a sports fan. That's all I got for today, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Till next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you.